or SSDSDSSWEMUGABRTLAD for short. Hello and welcome to the EuroWhat, episode 245, dropping on November 5th, 2024. We are a pair of Americans trying to make sense of the Eurovision Song Contest. I'm Mike McComb, and I'm here with my co-host, Ben Smith. Hey, Ben.
Hey, Mike.
In this episode, we'll be catching up on the avalanche of news that's dropped since September. How's it going, Ben?
It's good. I'm not thinking about anything else that's happening today. It's fine.
Yeah, this is the perfect distraction for two fellows in the Americas. So.
And there's so much to cover. So many things have happened in the last, 2 months, it turns out.
This time last year, I think we had the first song from France. But that was the only thing that happened. We got so many stories of just organizational stuff, which we love.
France this year taking a well-deserved vacation after the Olympics. They have earned that.
Yeah, I think they may be the only country we're not talking about in this episode.
Yeah, really, at this point, in terms of what we now know. They are possibly the only one we will not further mention at this point.
Watch, they drop all of the news on Monday, as this is in editing. So, but we will cross that bridge when we get there. Let us start with exotic Switzerland. Basel-Stadt has approved funding of 40 million euro for hosting next year's contest. And the groups that were trying to get a referendum were successful in getting that referendum posted. So on November 24th, the people of Basel-Stadt have the opportunity to possibly overturn the funding approval. Democracy at work, everybody.
Democracy.
Yes, so the referendum petition received over 4,000 signatures. They only needed 2,000 to get on the referendum. If this referendum were to pass, the impact would mostly be felt in satellite events to Eurovision. So the Eurovision Village, any tourism campaigns, stuff like that. The actual contest would still go on. It's just a hurdle that I don't think anybody really wants to deal with at the moment.
From what I've read around all of that, just because there have been many wonderful explainers of what do you mean there's a referendum that could pass? Everybody involved with the main show is yeah, this doesn't affect us.
It is interesting to learn more about Switzerland's direct democracy approach to things. We'll have an article linked in the show notes from Politico that is a pretty good explainer of how this happened, why this is happening. And, so something to stress out about if you're not stressed out enough for our U.S. listeners. So on the sponsorship front, Novartis, a Swiss pharmaceutical company, has been named as an official partner of this year's contest.
From my end, the way that I saw this news was something along the lines of, why is a pharmaceutical company sponsoring the contest? To which my immediate response is, oh, Novartis?
Yeah.
Boston has a bunch of biotech. We also have a Novartis here. I have friends who work there.
I guess it's not a huge surprise when you think about the location of it. It's just kind of a weird partnership. I was going through their list of products, and the only one that I immediately recognized was Ritalin. So yeah, maybe there is some sort of crossover with with fans. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
But are you overly familiar with Novartis's product catalog?
Not necessarily.
Great. I will give you the name, and you need to tell me if it is a Novartis pharmaceutical product or the name of a Eurovision act from the 90s and 2000s.
Oh, good. This is delightful.
Starting things off, Arzera.
Okay. I'm leaning towards pharmaceutical. It sounds like something I would have to sit through a 90-second add-on through YouTube. I'm going with pharmaceutical.
That is correct.
Yes.
Zometa.
Okay, this one also feels like something I would have to sit through a 2.5 minute long add-on on YouTube. I'm gonna zag and say that that's a Eurovision performer.
Nope, that is a pharmaceutical.
Okay, should trust in my gut.
Intresto.
Okay, this feels like it could be a Lithuanian boy band. I'm gonna trust that instinct. Eurovision performer.
Novartis.
Oh boy.
Galvis.
I'm tempted to switch, but at this point, Eurovision performer.
That one's also Novartis. This is the one that sounds to me like a Lithuanian boy band.
Okay.
Paseo.
Okay, that sounds like Paseo. That's a Eurovision act.
Novartis.
Are these all Novartis?
Travitin.
This is a Novartis product.
Yes. And finally, Seabree Breeze Holler.
Okay, that sounds vaguely like one of the 4 languages of Switzerland. I'm going to say this is a pharmaceutical.
It is a pharmaceutical.
Okay, these were all Novartis.
Yes, they were.
How dare you?
Also looking at exotic Switzerland, BBC had an interview with Nemo about their experience at this year's contest and the potential changes that could be happening behind the scenes as the EBU kind of wrestles with what happened this year. We will have that linked in the show notes. And the Swiss tabloid Blick had an interview with Bakel Walden, who's the current head of the reference group, which we talked about a couple episodes back. First of all, the article is titled Interview with SRG-Manager Bakel Walden, : Is Nemo a wimp? So you can kind of see where Blick's point of view is. But I think the more relevant quote that came from the article, it came from Bakel Walden. We need to communicate better before, during, and after the ESC. In the future, we will have our own crisis management, strengthen communication, and work very closely with the SRG project team. We at the EBU are organizing the competition, and the SRG and Basel are organizing the event. I think that's a pretty good setup for our next segment of, is everyone still mad at the EBU?
Around the last time we checked in on the news, we had been at the point where like Iceland was going to say whether they were participating or not, and then they kicked that can a few days down the road. They have since confirmed. Along with that, we got sort of a little bit of a peek behind the curtain of what had been happening with the EBU. They had said there are now 9 working groups at work, and the aim is for them to deliver results from their work in the coming months. RUV has added its comments in the review where, among other things, it was reported that there was an extremely negative discussion in this country before the last competition. And they also confirmed that almost all nations have already announced their participation in Switzerland next year, which we will get to that. There's so much participation being confirmed, including the Netherlands. So possibly the maddest at the EBU, and rightly so. But they had confirmed they were participating next year on October 23rd. In that announcement cited what they called concrete changes being made for next year. There is a safety manager in the artist environment being appointed. They are severely reducing behind-the-scenes filming. There is a safe space for artists behind the scenes where they will not be disturbed. There is now going to be a crisis team consisting of representatives of the EBU, participating countries, and the organizing broadcasters, so that important decisions are taken democratically. And the appointment of Martin Green as the new Eurovision director to oversee all of these changes. So we now have that new director role, which there's now 2 Martins. I know it probably wasn't like the official reason they picked it, but now if we say that we're mad at Martin, we need to be slightly more specific.
That's good strategy, or it's just like, oh, go talk to Martin about it, and then like duck behind a corner or into a broom closet or something.
Where is my BBC farce series behind the scenes?
Where is that series?
They did that for the Olympics. Admittedly, I might be the only person who would be watching the entire 6 episodes, but come on.
Looking through this list, I'm glad that they are implementing these changes, but at the same time, it's like, wow, it's kind of surprising that these weren't already in place.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, like, this is coming from an organization that did not have a tiebreaker mechanism for the first 15 years of the contest.
Yeah, it's just like, the more I know about Eurovision, the more I'm just like, okay, because it consists of a lot of different member broadcasters, the changes that need to happen often sneak up on the contest. Mm-hmm. So like, this is all just like a big list of very welcome things, I think, from the artist perspective.
Yeah, it'll be great to see how this evolves over the season, and particularly like how things are going to play out in May. Hopefully these changes improve things rather than add to the chaos.
I think the first question on many people's minds was probably like, okay, so if the Netherlands is in, what about Joost? Joost Klein was given a chance to return as their representative and considered it, but ultimately declined. He issued a statement on Instagram saying, my team and I had everything ready, but it just doesn't feel good. I need to give myself more time to heal. It was my dream to do Eurovision, and we did that. For months, I had this feeling that I needed to make a return to finish the job, but in reality, we reached a higher goal. Europapa united a lot of people. This story is not just about me, it's about us. I'm grateful. I fully understand. Yeah, no, you did the thing.
This is kind of reminding me of Little Big for the 2021 contest, where there was a lot of speculation that they would be coming back, and then like at the Russian national final, they're just like, yeah, we like to, but if what we submit does not hit as hard as Uno did, then it just puts them as artists in a very awkward position.
Yeah, it's like we don't want to be competing against ourselves.
Yes. I feel like Joost was maybe in kind of a no-win situation with whatever decision he proceeded with on this, but I think ultimately this is the right way for him to go. And if we see him in like the next couple of years, that would not be a surprise. But yeah, I could see like taking a step back as being the right way to move forward.
I fully understand him needing more time. Like, this feels like it's probably still a very raw situation. Along with all of this news of the announcement, there were the Netherlands new head of delegation, Claudia van der Pas, did an exclusive interview with the Ding a Dong podcast, where amidst what was sort of discussed was that Joost had been removed from the first dress rehearsal at least half an hour before it began, sort of sat in like a holding on that Friday, not really knowing what was going to happen. So like, I completely understand that being a very raw situation.
I mean, it took a while for the criminal investigation to wrap up, and he's also still performing and touring and like doing his day job, essentially. So like there's a lot of stuff that he's juggling. So yeah, if he does come back, I'm very curious to see what that looks like. Knowing what his work has been so far, seeing how this influences that could be an interesting development.
In that same interview, Avotros confirmed just some more of those concrete details. Artists will no longer be allowed to be filmed in backstage areas and dressing rooms without permission of the head of press or head of media for their delegation, including any embedded media. So like if the Dutch newspapers are there, they still have to go through head of media, which I think is a fantastic development, just given what we know about what was causing a lot of stress behind the scenes this year.
In terms of the Netherlands plans for 2025, they are open to submissions until November 22nd, and there's going to be a 6-member selection committee. The head of delegation will attend all of those meeting sessions, but won't be voting on it. It'll be this committee that'll be making the selection for the Netherlands this year. So one of several to keep an eye on, as we will soon learn. So before we get into that, just kind of want to check in on the Patreon. Thank you again for supporting us. If you're able to support us on Patreon, if you're not able to support us, that's totally fine. We still appreciate you listening to this main show. But our supporters were treated to our discussion of Can't Stop the Music, which is apparently everyone's favorite bad movie. That's one of the episodes that we've gotten the most feedback on since we started doing the Patreon AV Club. You can find the Patreon at patreon.com/EuroWhat. Our next bonus episode is going to be about an upcoming trip that you're taking. Isn't that right, Ben?
Yeah. Like literally Wednesday night, I'm flying to Iceland Airwaves. I'm going to go hang out in Iceland and have a great time, and we'll chat about that. Excellent.
We did an episode on the main feed about Iceland Airwaves. Was this 2019?
Yeah, 2019 sounds about correct, where in hindsight, I missed seeing Dathi Frere at that Airwaves. Yeah, no, like 3 months later, we're just like, oh, I could have gone to the soccer stadium a little earlier. I'm currently poring over the lineup to figure out who I need to see this time.
Nice, yes. But didn't you see Amanda Tenfjord at that Airwaves?
Yes.
There we go.
Yes, there we go. It took a few years, but I saw her.
Should be a fun episode. I'm very excited to hear about the trip. You had a great time last time, and you're getting out of this country for a little bit at a very opportune moment.
And just like... I decided to go in May when they did like the first wave of the lineup, and there were enough artists that I wanted to see. And like only a couple weeks ago did the math, like, oh no, this is a very good time to go. Again, you can find that at patreon.com/EuroWhat. And next time on this feed, we are going to be talking with David Junk and Fred Bronson, who co-wrote the book Rockin, the Kremlin. So David Junk was the first CEO of Universal Music Russia. And one of his first big projects when he took on that job was taking Elsu to Eurovision in 2000. Fred Bronson covers Eurovision for Billboard magazine. So this was a very exciting conversation. We got to geek out quite a bit. Yeah, I had a great time in this conversation. Yeah, like I really enjoyed this conversation. I really enjoyed the book. So I know I'm very excited to hear how that interview comes out. Yes. So that episode will be dropping in 2 weeks. Let's dive into apparently everybody laying out their plan for Q1 2025. Before we dive into like any national final updates, let's just chat about some new heads of delegation and some new personnel behind the scenes of things. Azerbaijan, Eldar, who was their representative in 2011, is returning as the music producer for the third year in a row. And they have a new head of delegation, Nurlana Jafarova, presenter who is currently their head of press, has been appointed as the new head of delegation. She was previously the editor-in-chief of the Music and Entertainment Programs editorial office of Azerbaijan Television from 2017 to 2020. And she's then moved on to ICMI TV, where she began working as a presenter. So someone who understands the broadcast side of things. So let's see if they've got the right people behind the scenes. Speaking of nations that have had kind of a slump, Germany. There had been discussion that it was going to shift which of the national broadcasters in Germany that are under that umbrella were going to oversee things. ARD is going to be collaborating with the private network RTL. This is the first time since 2012 that Germany did like some sort of public-private broadcaster collaboration. So we will be beginning. Okay, let me take the Chefsache ESC 2025 und 20 singt für Deutschland.
So yes, this will be their new national selection format. And I don't know, reading the details of this, I got nervous. It's going to be 4 live shows on ARD and RTL. The 3 live shows on RTL will feature Stefan Raab, who is back in the Germany Eurovision circle, and his team sorting through 24 acts with, quote, several singing rounds and song disciplines. So I don't know if it's going to be like an American Idol type thing, where it's just going to be a different theme each night. I believe this is all going to be happening in a single week. And then the live final on ARD is where the representative will be chosen entirely by televote. Barbara Schroenberger is going to be hosting all of these shows. And Stefan Raab, who represented Germany in 2000, he was also instrumental in Lena's win in 2010. He was one of the hosts of 2011. And he's just like this reality competition impresario. We talked about him like way, way back. I think it was like episode 87. One of his shows was called, Stefan sucht den Superstar, der singen soll, was möchte und gerne auch bei RTL auftreten darf, or SSDSDSSWEMUGABRTLAD for short, which roughly translates to Stefan seeks the superstar who shall sing what he wants and who may perform on RTL if he likes.
I just deeply appreciate that German television programs just apparently use the same naming convention as Amazon products now. Blanket for use in living room or on sofa. Where it's like, thank you, SEO.
The fact that Stefan Raab is kind of coming out of retirement, like he's stepped away from TV projects for the last several years. And when Germany was kind of on top back in the late aughts, early tens, he was heavily involved in that. So this might be the shot in the arm that Germany needs.
Mm-hmm. I share your hesitation about the several singing rounds and song disciplines. Like, what does that mean? Are we going to be watching these people like take a live music theory test?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm immediately thinking of the processes that Malta has used the last several years and that we will be talking about shortly. So it's just like, oh, do we really need mainland Malta? We'll see how this goes.
The several singing rounds and song, like, is this like a Stjernekamp situation where it's like, okay, let's do metal night, let's do country night?
Yeah, but it's also like so short. Like it's only 4 episodes.
But also it's like 4 of these.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, Germany's in a position where try anything.
Yeah, just like, let's keep throwing some stuff at the wall. Maybe something will stick. Norway has announced a new head of delegation. That would be Maud Stoklep. And new NRK MGP music directors, which is Maud Storklep and Tarjei Strem. Tarjei Strem competed in MGP in 2013. I'm waiting to see what kind of shift we have in the format there. Are we going back to just like a one night, or are we still going to keep the sort of the tour of the sausage making factory?
Yeah, I could see it maybe continuing with the current format for at least one more year. Because, I mean, Norway's been doing well with that format. And Stig Karlsson still has had a little bit of input, even though he's moved on to his new role. He was part of the selection committee for this year's field. So,
well, and like it would make sense that like even if you're changing some of the behind the scenes people, to keep the actual machine the same for at least one more year.
We don't have any specific dates on that yet, but we've got to be getting information soon because that usually starts beginning of January.
Yeah, it's usually like one of the first ones, so probably soon.
Yeah.
Ukraine, so much the last few years, is giving us a lot of details about their process. Tina Carroll was named the music producer for Red Beer 2025. I'm very excited about that. I mostly only listened to her one entry, but she seems like she's done like a lot of work behind the scenes, and I think she's a strong pick.
I agree.
20 entries will be longlisted in November. From that, a short list of up to 9 acts will be announced by December 20th, and then the public will choose one wildcard by January 17th for a final in February. And then the UK has announced their update to the selection process. David May and Andrew Cartmel are going to be the team leading the search for 2025's artists, so they will be internal again. Cartmel is the executive producer at BBC Studios North, who I believe have been the team the last few years. He's handling that from the BBC side. David May was Sam Ryder's manager in 2022. So, I mean, I can see the UK trying to figure out, okay, how do we get Sam Ryder again?
Mm-hmm.
David May started out as a singer-songwriter. He's had over 200 million streams as a writer and producer. He was named Music Manager of the Year in 2023. So, like, in terms of a partner, he seems like a good pick.
It's still encouraging to see that the UK is enthusiastic about this, or like at least trying to make the choices that are going to facilitate possible success. Like they're not, they're not just like trying to throw something together at the last minute. Like there is intention behind these choices that
they're still good intention. I think they're still showing everything on BBC One. So yeah, they're still taking it very seriously, even though the results the last couple of years have been a little lackluster.
Yeah, fingers crossed on that. And then let's see, we have so many more national final updates that we divided these in our notes between kind of vague vibe based updates and then more specific stuff. We're now in the vibe based section of the notes. Australia are coming to the contest again. This will be the 10th year since first participating in the contest as a competitor. So welcome again to Australia. Hopefully this is on the way to a more permanent position in the contest, since they still have to be invited. They are the vampires of the contest. I don't know. Yeah, you have to invite them in. Yes. Still in a little bit of a Halloween hangover, but so no details yet on what their process is going to be, if it's going to be internal, if they're going to try to do Australia Decides. But yeah, looking forward to their participation. Austria announced that they are going to be selecting internally again. Their jury is currently reviewing 8 songs, so it seems like they are moving pretty fast in their process. No firm dates yet on when a selection will be made or announced. Croatia is still planning on doing Dora, and their submissions are open until November 15th. Czechia announced that they are going internal this year. They've dropped the ESCZ process. Kind of a bummer, but I can also kind of understand it. This year's version didn't quite work out the way I think that they were hoping.
Yeah, but I feel like the last 2 or 3 years of ESCZ has given them like a good bench of talent that they probably could just say, okay, let's see who else did well there and maybe give them the resources to like really build out that entry.
I'm thinking of someone like Pam Rabbit. Like she competed a couple of times, and I think like given the right level of resources and support could do something pretty amazing. So we will see how that one plays out. Greece will be doing a national final, or at least the plan is to do a national final.
Let's not hold them to that.
Yes. They are accepting submissions through November 10th. If they do have a national final, it will be the first one that they've had since 2015. There was supposed to be a national final in 2018, but almost everybody was disqualified for one reason or another. And then they ultimately did not qualify in the 2018 contest. So yeah, I can understand their reluctance to want to do that again. But it'll be cool to see like what their approach will be to a national final since it's been a minute. Ireland will be doing a national final as part of the Late Late Show again. Okay. Song submissions for that are open until November 18th, and the final is slated for some Friday in February.
I'm not thrilled about the Late Late Show part, but like I am very interested to see, based on how Bambi Thug did and how that influences what ends up making this year's entries for selection.
Yes. And I don't know if they can just get rid of just completely retool the format. Like if they have to keep the same venue, maybe only have Jedward as the judging panel, because they are the only judges that they've had that actually know what they're talking about.
But also if it was like a special presentation of the Late Show from a venue with actual acoustics, that would also be nice.
Hopefully they're listening to us or any other Euro fan who's just like, please, please. But yeah, we will see in February.
I'm just mentally picturing the Tyra Banks yelling at Tiffany meme.
Yeah.
We are all rooting for you.
Just get Tyra Banks to host and just like, live with those consequences. Okay. And then Spain announced that they received about 1,000 entries for Benidorm. It's been getting bigger and bigger each year. There's been at least one AI entry, so we'll see how that goes. An interesting tidbit is that more women than men submitted entries this year. Spain is planning on announcing their artists this coming Thursday. So, yeah, the Benidorm process moving along about at the same pace as last year. I think last year's acts were announced around this time in November. Very, very much looking forward to that one.
All right, vibes-based portion of the show over. It's time for concrete details.
Woo!
Albania will have 30 participants at Festivali Ikengis. They have revealed those participants. There are 10 Festivali Ikengis alumni, but there are no Eurovision alumni. Elvana Jota is in the mix, as is last year's winner, Mal Retkoseri, which I'm interested to see how he does, because like they loved him.
Yeah.
And yet we got Besa, who was great in different ways.
I think it's Elvana who's gathered the most attention just because of the whole like Metana debacle of of the 2019-2020 contest. So yeah, high expectations for what she's going to bring.
Yeah, I mean, Metana slapped, so just like
it still holds up.
I'm ready. I am ready for that one. Estonia, I forget if we had previously announced this or not. Este Laul is going to be only one night in 2025 with 16 entries. They had 175 songs submitted. We will have the artists announced on the 4th and 5th, but 15 will be selected by a panel, and there will be one audience wildcard. And we will have those songs by December 6th.
16 is too many for a national final.
It's too many for one night.
Yeah.
It's too many. I don't like it.
Especially if it's going to be like 10% of the songs submitted. Like, I would rather have quality over quantity. So it's just like, oh, we have 6 songs that we think are really, really good. Instead of like, oh, we've got 6 songs that are really, really good and tend to fill out the rest of the 3-hour broadcast.
Yeah, especially when you look at things like Finland and UMK, where like they have 7 and those are all great. Which, speaking of Finland, UMK is going to be at Nokia Arena in Tampere again on February 8th. Tickets sold out for the main show within hours on October 3rd. So just like last year, like they are doing things right.
Nice. Are you planning on going?
I thought about it, but no. I'm like 2 years in a row felt extravagant. But like, would I go back? Absolutely. They know what they're doing. It's a fun time. Congratulations to everybody who got tickets. Italy, we are going to have Sanremo 2025 artists as of December 2nd. Those will be announced on RAI. I'm getting excited for that one. I would love to see La Represente da Lista in the mix again. They would be very fun. Madame, etc. I've been thinking about the Big Five recently because we're thinking about that for a future episode of the show. And just like, Italy's doing a real good job, but also you should send more ladies because they're great.
And they're also going through the music director transition as well. Lots of tweaks happening. So yeah, I think that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to most about this year's selection season is there's just been a lot of changing of the guard. So yeah, we may be potentially entering a new era of song selection contests. So,
but also I want to see Annalisa on that list.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, really, I'm trying to think of acts that I would not want to see, and I am struggling to
Italy is spoiled for choice. So just like, I look forward to seeing whoever. Luxembourg has announced that their national final will be on January 25th. They have also confirmed that they had 60 artists submit for this year. Each of those artists could submit up to 5 songs, so we have somewhere between 60 and 300 songs that may be being considered right now.
We will keep submitting songs until our demands are met. So
yeah, until morale improves. Malta will be doing MESC again.
Okay.
There will be 24 songs across 2 semis on February 4th and 6th. From there, we will cut that down to 16 songs and a final on February 8th. That's too many, Malta. Yeah, we have been over this.
I mean, I'm glad that they are not doing their ridiculous format that they had last year, where it started in October and it was song number 2 that ended up being selected. But yeah, like cutting from 24 to 16, that's just rude to 8 people.
It's just mean to 8 people specifically.
in terms of who's eligible. If it's a solo act, that person needs to be a Maltese citizen. If it is a band, the lead singer has to be a Maltese citizen. Otherwise, it's open season on like songwriters, composers, all of that. So we'll see how many Swedish entries are in the mix this year. When I was reading the article, it called out specifically that Sarah Bonici would not be eligible to compete. And that caused me to open up the rules. It's like, wait, did they name her specifically? And it's just like, no. It's just that last year's winner is not eligible, which I'm guessing is a standard rule because I don't think there's ever been a defending champion at MESC, but I don't know, just the fact that that the article called her out specifically is like, wow, Malta's got mean.
What did she do?
She didn't qualify. That's what she didn't do. But oh goodness. So yeah, Sarah Bonici will not be on loop for this year's competition.
Yeah. Montenegro is back. Montesong is happening. Montesong, the one final I will allow to have 16 acts on one day. They are down to one day. It is 16 acts. It is November 27th. It's it's around Thanksgiving. I'm going to be around. I'm going to sit down and watch that. The songs will be dropping on the Montesong YouTube channel on November 10th. We'd love to see Montenegro back. Hello, Vladana. Serbia is going to do Pesma za Eurovision 2025. That will be March 1st, 2025. With semis of February 25th and 27th. However, they could pivot that to an internal if not enough qualified submissions come in, and like they have extended the deadline. So like they're definitely sort of just like keeping that open. Just like, hey, we might not.
They are very deliberate in their selection process. So yeah, like I could see it being like 2 small semifinals if that's what it is required. But yeah, like I trust Serbia's decision making when it comes to this. They
do seem to enjoy Pesma za Eurovision, and like I certainly enjoy Pesma za Eurovision, and like the vibe there is exquisite.
Yes,
it's just like we know what this program and we know what we need to do for this type of program, and we will provide it, like however contractually mandated it seems at every time at all times. Anyways, Philip Balish, write a song. Slovenia is going back to using Emma, which they last used in 2022. That final will be on February 1st. I'm excited to see that one back.
I am too. Like, I mean, I've loved Slovenia's internal selections from the last couple of years, but Emma's one of those kind of hidden gem selection shows. So I'm happy to see that back as well. Like, I feel like Slovenia can do no wrong, even the times that they have not managed to make it to the grand final.
Yeah. Yeah, again, it's a fun one to watch. Sweden has announced they got just shy of 2,800 songs submitted for Melfest. It is unclear how many of those were just Thomas Gison and friends.
Yeah, just noodling on the Casio. So
yeah, like I would like every time we get like a number like 2,800 songs submitted, I'm like, okay, but how many of those were good? How many of those were like actual passable quality songs and not just an MP3 that somebody uploaded?
Yeah. Although if Ganilla's back in the mix, please retract
direct to finale.
Yeah.
Direct to finale. Week 1 will be February 1st. The final is March 8th. I mean, speaking of Ganilla, like I have been sort of paying a little bit of attention to like those little often bloodette like threats of who's participating, and it does feel like a real monkey's paw situation for me, a person who prepared a spreadsheet about the content about Melfest earlier this year.
Well, I mean, like the thing is, there are rumors flying everywhere, and we try not to traffic in rumors just because like we have no way of like validating anything, but it seems like anybody who has ever participated in Melfest has been rumored to participate next year. So.
To quote that one Dumois meme, likely place for them to be.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the final will be taking place at what used to be the Friends Arena but is now the Strawberry Arena.
Yeah, do you know what that name change is about? That is Strawberry a brand, or
it's probably a brand. Maybe they're naming it after something that OpenAI can't correctly spell or confirm how many R's it has. It's a weird thing to name an arena after, but like,
yeah,
we love to see it.
All right, yeah.
Maybe they just love that fruit.
Yeah, there we go. And it's just like friends are no longer friends. Strawberry best friend now.
Well, just like, are they naming it after a different legacy Melfest act? I gotta check my spreadsheet.
Too much knowledge is a dangerous thing. All right.
Yes.
So yeah, like a lot of countries that have announced their plans for 2025. We're still waiting to hear from a few participants that were in 2024. Armenia has not commented yet on if they are going to be participating. Moldova has not commented. They just went through elections in Moldova, and it's been real spicy over there. So probably not top priority at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then Poland also has not weighed in one way or the other. The only thing that's come up about Poland, again, like the reason that we don't traffic in rumors is Jojo Siwa was possibly in the mix.
Was just petitioning really hard to represent Poland. And Poland's response has just been, we don't know if we're doing Eurovision. We don't know her.
On the one hand, I'm kind of tickled by the idea of her doing Eurovision. On the other, why would she? Like, it doesn't make sense, but then it also makes all of the sense. So
yes, it's like, I feel fine either way.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to see Jojo Siwa encountering the Eurovision machine? Yes. Would I also understand if Poland wants to have like an actual Polish act represent them? Also, yes. Thinking over the other ones from 2024, Armenia, I feel like, is generally pretty quiet, and then all of a sudden we'll just pop up and be like, hello, here's our act and their song.
Yeah, and Moldova's kind of the same way. I mean, Moldova does have, like, their auditions and national final and such, but there is kind of a last-minute quality to what Moldova does, and I think that's part of the reason why we love them.
That's part of the charm. Yeah, is like... they're in a spot right now where, like, I would understand if they took a year off.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, also, like, I feel like they don't issue a press release. It's always just sort of, hello, auditions will be on this day.
Yes. The audition announcement is the press release. Other countries that have recently taken a break that may be coming back. Romania, we've not heard anything that they took this year off for budget reasons, and I've not heard anything one way or the other. And then North Macedonia, which has been out of the contest for a couple of years, their program council met on October 22nd to discuss a possible return, partly in response to a fan email campaign asking them to...
Apparently the emails work.
Yeah. So good on the North Macedonian fandom for causing some sort of action to happen. Looking at the current budget for MRT, the North Macedonian broadcaster, there's enough for them to participate in Junior Eurovision and to broadcast the main contest, but they would probably need some sort of funding infusion to go to the main Eurovision contest. So that's probably not happening this year.
My read of the program council meeting, just some of the language around that is like, yeah, no, we see this as important. We see this as a way to really highlight North Macedonian culture. But also, when I look at the numbers do not add up.
And it's particularly difficult, again, with Switzerland as host. Like, that is going to be one of the most expensive places to host the contest. If you have budget concerns, that's going to make the math that much more difficult to math out. But at least they are still expressing interest and desire to compete. It's just other priorities are in play. So if they can make it work, great. If we still have to wait one more year, at least they're still open to that conversation happening, which is just as important. I think that's going to do it for this episode of the EuroWhat. Thanks for listening. The EuroWhat podcast is hosted by Mike McComb, that's me, and Ben Smith.
That's me. If you'd like to help support the show and access a ton of bonus content, head over to patreon.com/EuroWhat.
Free access to our full archive of more than 200 episodes going all the way back to the 2018 contest can be found on our website, EuroWhat.com.
Next time on the EuroWhat, we'll be discussing the book Rockin' the Kremlin with our special guests David Junk and Fred Bronson.